And women come to my office because they want certain things and they don't dare saying it. I have a lot of women who told me at work I can't fully express what I really want from a man because I feel I'm in a very feminist environment where I don't dare to speak out. I hear a lot of things in my office, the truth about what people really want, and they haven't changed that much.
Welcome to The Middle Ground. My name is Valeria and I'm your today's host. Today we're going to cover a topic nobody expects. Marjorie Libourel is a Brussels-based matchmaker who graduated from Sciences Po and eventually replaced her boring work in Eurobubble with a successful love business stretching from Australia to Europe. She also teaches sociology of dating and even explains to 17, 18 years old in European school how to date in the modern time. Suppose you watched the movie Materialist. In that case, Marjorie is basically Lucy, who exited her scarcity mindset and is living her best life, connecting hearts and minds of people who are ready to take dating on a new level. Marjorie,
Hi.
hello, good evening.
Good evening.
And pleasure to host you. We're super excited. I think that's the topic that's going to blow Brussels, and just let's make it the most out of this time.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy.
So let's start with the basics. What is your background? Where did you study? And how did it lead you to where you are now?
Oh, well, it's been quite a path. So I went to study political science in one of the best universities in the country, or the only one that really trains future administration workers, diplomats, etc., all the intellectual elite of France. So I went to Sciences Po, and I really enjoyed what I studied, although it was hard to fit in at the times. And I entered, my first job was in the lobbying sector in Brussels, but that was very disappointing. And I got very, very bored, I have to say, to the point that I almost did a depression. I really didn't see a lot of purpose in my work. And after a very tumultuous path where I tried a lot of things, the only thing that brought me meaning was teaching sociology. So I took another teaching degree later on. And then finally, I landed into the world of matchmaking. So if you go on my website, you'll understand I explain my journey. But basically, I just saw an ad on LinkedIn someday. So I applied. And my amazing boss, who sadly passed away, hired me first as an employee for another matchmaking company based in London. And together we managed the Belgian branch of that company until I decided to create mine from Australia. So almost 4 years ago, because I flew to Sydney for my ex-partner, love story. And that love story ended, but it created my agency, which I tried to give an image which is like myself, authentic, global, transparent and ethical.
Does your authenticity also come from your early childhood and teenage years when you grew up in France, as you said, as in the middle of nowhere, but actually it gave you lots of life wisdom and understanding of the beauty and who you want to become?
I had a interesting childhood, and I think quite peculiar and atypical in many, many ways. I moved to the middle of nowhere at the age of 12 because my dad was initially an engineer working for a very big corporation, having a great job. And at 40 years old, he just decided that he wanted more meaning in his life. What an idea. And to become a farmer. So he ended up being a cheesemaker for Roquefort. And we arrived to this farm where my grandparents lived. And it was a big shock. So I was actually not a farm girl at all. I spent my entire childhood and teenagers reading, learning Russian in my room. And all I wanted to do was escape. But at the same time, well, it gave me this incredible resilience, also because I had to overcome a lot of hardships for different reasons. I had a difficult childhood. And I've always wanted to travel the world. And I think all these things, a combination of different factors, made that I'm I think quite an atypical person, and I think you need that to be a matchmaker and to stand out and to see things that some people don't see and to have this very big intuition.
Coming back to Brussels, why would somebody in Brussels come to you and matchmaker instead of swiping on Bumble or Tinder?
Well, usually the people who come to me there's people who have tried the apps and are burnt out and they decide that they want a more human experience. Some people don't even want to go on the apps and decide that they straight away want to outsource the task of finding their partner to a matchmaker. But most of the time, we have to look in depth. Why are you burnt out? What have you been doing? What can we improve? The better I get at my job, with experience, it's going to be 8 years now, the more I think that we need to dive deep. So that's why we have a first very thorough consultation in my office, Avenue Louise, sometimes at their place, or online, depending on where they are in the world, because I've got clients everywhere, actually. And I'm becoming more and more global. I just signed my first Southeast Asian client, and I'm going to fly to Sri Lanka to find matches for him. We look in depth, and I really want to understand where they come from. What was their childhood like? What was their past romantic experiences? And to understand where their shortcomings are, because there are always things that we can work on. Limiting beliefs as well. How do you market yourself on an app? What have you been doing? I don't think the apps are necessarily the problem at all. But a matchmaker gives you really that value of understanding yourself and provide you outstanding matches that will suit your personality while working on yourself.
With so many nationalities here, it might be challenging to negotiate different cultural expectations of romance and gender roles. You say that you look into this too because you analyze your clients. How would you formulate the differences that you see, particularly here in this city?
So I think nationalities and gender roles are two different things. The cultural aspect is a first issue indeed, where I'm also teaching once a week at the European School, so I see that. And while it's wonderful to see these kids, whose parents are working in the institutions for a blend. Father is Swedish, mom is Portuguese. It's fantastic. However, it can be difficult, or when you're an expat wanting to date in the city, all the social codes are quite different. I mean, the cultural norms are different. Although we're quite educated, sometimes most of these people have been to Collège d'Europe like yourselves, you still have your cultural, specificities, and it can be hard to navigate. So I think, but it's a wealth, it's not a handicap. What matters is that you find a partner though who has the same core values. I think it's more important. The values are crucial and the life objectives that you have for each other. But you need to have matching lifestyles in a way. So if you are a heavy drinker from Poland, dating somebody from Turkey or even you need to have similar life expectations and life hygiene. And regarding gender, it's a complex topic, and I think that would require a specific podcast. I think there is my job, my mission, the way I see it, is to create more understanding, less friction between men and women. Everybody's hurting, everybody's harmed. Men, there's definitely good men out there. Sometimes they just don't know how to express themselves. They don't know what's expected of them anymore, or they don't know what's expected of them. Women at the same time have really evolved, they now have these fantastic opportunities. Brussels is a capital full of, very intellectual, very, very educated women. But the expectations from a man have not really changed much, and they're still looking for a man who's financially stable. I try to tell them he doesn't have to make a lot of money or much more than you do because you already sorted out. However, you need to focus on the emotional compatibility. Are you going to feel safe with him? Does he care about you? Is he a good communicator? Is he family oriented? These are all the things that I try to teach them that they sometimes forget because some women just focus on the materialistic stuff, as we see in Materialist.
And do you think that matchmaking in general has become more important now that we are overwhelmed with this choice, especially in this city with so many nationalities and you can try so many of them?
So you mean, is that an issue? Like, is matchmaking a good way to prevent the paradox of choice?
Yes.
Yes, I think it teaches people to really focus at one introduction at the time. And so we are created a code of conduct. Whenever we have a VIP client or a client joining us, we do much more than matchmaking because I have this strong will to transmit, because I'm a teacher at heart. I like to educate people, and I think the real need is for education. So we have our code of conduct, our booklets. Everybody receives a booklet with resources, the philosophy of the agency, the behavior that's expected. We kick out people if they don't respond within 48 hours to us and to the client as well, because we really want people who do things differently because they aspire to better results. Yeah, that is crucial for us.
What are the biggest mistakes that people are doing today when they're looking for a partner and that you see from your everyday experience?
They don't look at the right things. Or sometimes they don't really know what they're looking for. They think they know, but they don't. And so we need to dive deep. And this is why the first conversation, which lasts between an hour and 30 and 2 hours, is crucial. And, to be honest, sometimes after the end of the first conversation, we don't even know everything. We get to know the client along the way. That's why the matchmaking journey usually takes a minimum of 6 months, because it's for work, up to 12 months, because we get to refine our search and the client needs to understand, okay. And we refine our search after each introduction, but they also know to discover certain things by themselves. And we are also dating coaches. So I work with fantastic dating coaches in the entire world, and they're friends of mine. We're like a family. I know all of them. I've got 6 coaches, maybe max, working for us. They're based between Canada, the US, Australia. And I think they bring that knowledge that we don't have in Europe. Dating coaching is very rare. There's very few people who are actually qualified to do that. And so for me, dating coaching is as important as matchmaking. And it doesn't mean to teach you how to dress or it's not a speed dating event, or, it's much more deeper, much deeper.
Marjorie, how much do class or socioeconomic factors still shape love and marriage choices in Brussels?
They always will. There are some castes, sociological castes and categories and codes that are fundamental. The level of education is quite important. Some clients of mine are self-made entrepreneurs, for example. They have adopted all the social codes for them to evolve in society, so you don't really notice it. However, for my part, for example, I know that I would never be able to date somebody who is not able to come to public events with me, or who doesn't have a social etiquette, in public, or it has to be comfortable also with that. And we definitely need to be an intellectual match. So in order to be an intellectual match, I think you often have to have the same cultural capital. That is crucial, and you can't change that.
So Brussels is super competitive and people spend overtime in their offices and complain about loneliness, even though they have their friends and colleagues around. It seems like loneliness is becoming more and more normalized. Do you think that it's something that's happening and where matchmakers step in?
Definitely. However, we're not the only answer. I think the person has to look at, how can I thrive in my life and create a life I absolutely love? And most of the people who come with me, I ask them first to create a bucket list of all the amazing things they want to do. How attractive is your life? You really have to create a life that's absolutely outstanding in order to attract a partner. And when you complain of loneliness, to me, it's just that you're also not fulfilled in some aspects of your life. Are you fulfilled at work? I'm fulfilled at work. Okay, well, it's a specific work, but it tends to attract a lot of people. But you have to become magnetic also. And sometimes that can mean questioning very deep things. Should I leave my office work? Should I, send everything to hell and just start over? I think there are deeper questions than that. So, because, you need to have an amazing life, I think. And then I don't think you're lonely.
I want to bring you back to your case about a woman who was your client because she couldn't really share with her colleagues or friends what she really wanted from relationships because feminism was in the way to do that. What are other ethical dilemmas that you encounter in your job? Like, for instance, the one that is about privacy and probably not being able to share what you really want straight away to your partner or future partner.
So how feminism reshaped the
the dating scene.
Well, it's made things definitely more complicated. I mean, we have amazing lives nowadays. I have an amazing life. I feel super empowered, and yes to feminism. However, I think depends to what extent you go. As I said, I don't hate men. I don't agree with men haters. I don't know if there are any in Brussels. I know that when I was living in Australia, there's a very hardcore feminism that is becoming really, really aggressive and dangerous. And that there is a huge gap going between men and women. No one talks to each other. They complain. Everybody's sipping their drink by themselves in bars. Flirting doesn't happen anymore. It's over. And people come to me once again, all very wounded. Okay, so feminism is fantastic because we are thriving in our careers. We have so many options. We can freeze our eggs. We can have babies alone. It's great if we don't have, the possibility to meet somebody. However, I think that women are still aspiring to some qualities, and that we need to make sure that men can express those qualities, right? So also what's becoming complicated now is that women are making good money, yet they're still looking most of the time for an equal partner in terms of finances, and that's okay. It's a tricky question. I don't have the exact answer for it. Or they're looking for somebody who's going to have more material resources. And at the core of this is certainly a biological question. Okay, am I going to be able to find a strong mate to reproduce with, to overcome the loss that I have by having a child, the financial risk I'm taking by having a child? This is called hypergamy, right? When you want to date up. It's become an issue when you make 15K a month. Who's going to be left?
Yeah.
This is why we have to find a solution. And I'm going to launch an article soon called Breaking the Hypergamy Dilemma. What do we do with this? And I think it's okay. We have to train women. It's okay if your guy makes less money than you. What does he bring you? Focus on other stuff. And it's still not that common. I have to educate women. I don't think, honestly, a woman who comes to me and would say, I want someone who makes more money than me, I'll be like, okay, why? You make a lot of money. As I said, I think this is not how we're going to beat up loneliness. I think the way we're going to beat up loneliness is if we look, of course you want a guy who's got his shit in order. That's one thing, okay? Does he have to make 20K when you make 15 already? I'm not sure that's how you find love. And it shouldn't be certainly the only criteria you're looking at. And I can teach you how to find them. I think that's the most important. And that's what I do more and more. That's why we've included dating apps in our agency too, but that's something I want to say. We are what I do in my offer, and I want people to know that, is that we put everything, so it depends really on the client, but they come to my office and I'm like a doctor. I listen to them, and at the end, I make a prescription. And we have in our agencies different services, photo shoots, styling if necessary, so you don't have to do it. What else? Dating apps experts who tell you, she's in Canada, Haley is a wonderful person, and she's gonna make sure you have a beautiful profile. We have some guys who just don't know how to interact on an app. They're shit on an app, but they're great in real life. Haley manages their profiles for them. We also have traditional matchmaking. So we take dating coaching, of course, which is crucial. So we take all the elements, and based on my, understanding, I'm going to be like, okay, so you need a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of that. Because I want people to have an amazing experience, and I care about my reputation. Matchmaking is dangerous. If you don't hire the right matchmaker, you can lose a lot of money and a lot of disappointment. And I don't want to do that. And that's what explains my gradual rising reputation in the market. And I've been classed as amongst the 10 best matchmakers in the world.
You said there are ways to marry both bubbles, so the EU bubble people and other Belgians. Do you have a success story?
Yes. So actually my latest match, and they're still together, fingers crossed, because sometimes I match people, they fall in love, and then the skills to be in a relationship are not the same as attracting. So people are like, how many marriages behind you have you got, or unions? A lot. Now, the longevity of the relationship, I'm not responsible for. And this is another tool, other, resources that they need to take care of. Being a good partner is another set of skills, but that's another story. My latest match was actually a woman who works in the human rights sector in Brussels. Beautiful woman. She's initially Belgian, but she speaks like tons of languages. She's very European. To a Belgian CEO of a global company, and she's so happy that she found somebody different who's not from the same environment, and vice versa, and they provide each other admiration, which is crucial. They don't know anything about each other's job. I mean, she doesn't understand really business the way he does, and he doesn't understand anything about human rights, and they worship each other, they admire each other. Admiration is crucial.
Got it. It really stimulates going outside your bubble. And
definitely, but you have to go, and you can do that by yourself. Join business clubs, try to meet people who are outside of your bubble.
And I would like to bring you to the recent film that I think everyone watched in this city, because I watched it myself last week, and the room was full.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself at the end to say, I'm a matchmaker.
No, but Materialist, why did it create so much fuss?
Because it raises key issues, very intimate issues about how dating is, about key problems of money and love, or they're compatible. It shows the difficulty of a job that people perhaps had no idea about. So on different level, I think there is the job of Lucy, which shows how devoted she is to her client, how painful that can be for her when your client is actually disappointed. It's so intense for us. So I'm glad that people got to understand our job, and I'm actually happy. I thought that after the movie, the movie would translate a completely idealistic idea about the profession, and that many women would like to launch a career. I'm glad this is realistic because it's a tough job and you need to have balls to do it. And on the other hand, there's Lucy, who's single, and she's hesitating between this unicorn, a really wealthy guy, and her ex-love that she definitely loves or loved, but who's broke and is really struggling. And I think this is a key issue that many women have experienced, that issue of hypergamy, which is crucial.
And like Lucy, have you ever been hit on by your client?
Yes, of course. And ideally, my clients sometimes fall in a way a bit in love with me, but that's like a therapist. There's a transfer. It's okay. When I started at 29, I didn't know how to handle it because I was hanging out with clients who were 60, and of course, they were very happy. And I've been taken advantage a few times. My boss sent me to dinners where it was completely unnecessary with clients who made us waste our time because they never signed up. I'm extremely professional nowadays. I'm a very clear communicator. Everybody who comes to my consultation pays, so I don't waste my time, and they take me seriously. And I'm friends with all my clients. I consider them friends, and we have that good rapport now. And I see through them, you know. Sometimes they try to impress me, but then they get almost naked in front of me.
So we have a tradition at our show. We always ask a previous guest to formulate a question for the next one, and they don't know who she or he is. And the question for you is, what's your favorite memory?
First that comes to mind is when I passed the Grand Oral of Sciences Po. That was a very difficult exam, very stressful, where you pick up a question, a text that you have to comment in front of 4 academics, and French schools are traumatizing. And you have to speak in front of an audience. You have 4 trials. Not everybody succeeds. 20% succeed the first trial, and I did. I had a question about the 100 Years' War. Thank God I was dating an English guy at the time. My ex-partner was becoming British, and so I condensated all his notes about history of England, and I passed. And I felt like a warrior. It's not even about what you know, it's how you express yourself. And I felt really proud. That's what comes to mind.
Marjorie, and what would be the question from you to our next speaker?
It is quite an intense question, but you figured out I was quite intense. It is, what is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome, either from a personal perspective or professional perspective?
So you're traveling a lot because your clients are here and there in Europe, and I recently read your LinkedIn post also about India. So you probably have something still in your bag, which you always keep close to your heart. And I'm wondering, what is this for you? A person who is dealing with love and connecting people's mind? Tell me.
Well, yes, and I'm so happy you actually asked me to do that. I have to give you a little bit of context though for you to understand it. So, I'm okay with my past. I will not fully disclose everything because it's long, but I had trauma to deal with. And my first experiences about love was very tough. I wasn't loved in the proper way by my parents. Sadly, I experienced severe abuse. I was almost placed in a foster home at 17. So it shaped my relationship to men for a while until I decided to really work on it. And I don't think I landed in this job by chance. And so first I had to find answers for myself. And since I did, this is how also I excel. And I've hired fantastic experts in my life, especially over the last years, who helped me to heal. And one of them was a healer in Belgium. She's wonderful. She's an Italian woman. And she opened up my heart even more and made me able to welcome love for myself. And she gave me that stone, which is a love stone. and I hold it from time to time. It's on my desk, and sometimes I just feel like I need a little push, so I take it in my hand. And the second one is actually a book I've been given by one of the most wonderful coaches I have discovered in America. His name is Shane Kohler, and he's the author of the podcast, The Conscious Love Show, and I highly recommend it. And he gave me that book, Becoming the One, because I think if you want to find the one, you have to become it first.
I'm very happy that you're the first guest who actually brought a book because we're collecting our own library and we're on our own journey to also heal trauma, mostly connected to our background, being a Ukrainian, being Armenian, going through war, rough 90s after the collapse of Soviet Union. So I think that you're right. Until you are in the right place in your life, when you are the one, how can you seduce another one?
Yeah.
I would really love now to go to our rapid fire questions, because I think that they are working on that exact thing, how people react when they don't have time to put on a mask. So now, Marjorie, you shouldn't look into my notes. What is the best neighborhood in which to live as a single person?
If you're single, I'd say actually the center. It's full of bars. Yeah, or XL, one of the two.
And to live as a family?
Uccle is wonderful. You have the forest.
And what would be the most overrated neighborhood?
Probably XL.
We also think so. The most underrated neighborhood that you wish interested more people in?
It's definitely coming, so it's Schaerbeek. I think there's a lot of beautiful places there.
If Brussels were an animal, what kind of animal would it be?
I'd say a dog, because it's convenient, it's comfortable, it's friendly.
The best cultural institution in Brussels?
The Musée Magritte.
First place you take your friends or family to prove that Brussels is cool?
I take them to a bar next to La Grand Place called Poschenkilder, where we have 1,000 beers, and we try. Not all of them, but a few. Get trashed, yeah.
And what is your favorite lunch or coffee place in Brussels?
I love Café de la Presse. It's next to my office, and I have a ritual of sitting there and having my flat white with oat milk.
I think this experience with rapid fire questions definitely proved that you have a lot more authenticity that many people will encounter in our work with Victoria. And I also imagine that you face lots of human feelings and human expressions throughout your everyday work. And sometimes it might be difficult and you need to put your boundaries very firmly. I'm wondering, what is your middle ground?
So the way, indeed, my job is extremely intense, and I have many rituals. I'm a very creative person and a sort of artist also in a way. I'm a businesswoman and I'm an artist. I love to paint and I love to dance at home. This is my way of releasing pressure. I've been dancing since I was a kid. And I used to do dance classes, of course. I don't really have the time anymore. But lashing out on music at home, alone especially, is something that gives me a lot of joy. Almost in a manic way sometimes. Yeah, and I love to read. I need to recharge like everybody. So I take at least a day off where I do absolutely nothing and just stuff that I enjoy.
Marjorie, thank you very much for your authenticity, for breaking the wall between what is conventional to talk about in Brussels, and hopefully we'll bring more of episodes about the topic of matchmaking and dating and matching people from different bubbles in the city. And I'm sure that we will see you many, many times more. We already agreed that it's not going to be the last episode on this topic. You can clearly say that there are lots of things to cover, and we want this topic to become closer to people of Brussels and to indeed show that different bubbles can coexist and even fall in love with each other.